Well, to take us that direction, you're the Minister for Tech.
Yes.
It's longer time than that, isn't it? But you said say
Tech
that.
and digital economy.
So, which is fascinating. Can you give us a brief overview of what that is?
So, back in November, got a call from the Prime Minister saying, I have...
Which one was that?
Cheeky.
So I get that
cheeky. Rishi Sunak called me and he said, I want you to be... I'm doing my reshuffle and I want you to be the Minister of Tech.
This is good. It's nice having our MP having a significant role. That's good for us, as a community.
By the way...
In Meriden, we can be proud of that.
Thank you. It's hugely important because actually the challenge I have sometimes, so I cover artificial intelligence and semiconductors and digital inclusion and digital skills and all this kind of stuff, right? It's really dense stuff, some of it. The challenge you have is you're trying to make sure that when you're doing your local stuff, you're kind of linking it back to people.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is...
That's what I wanted to talk, because AI is a fascinating subject, isn't it? Is it scary or is it,
Well, I don't think AI is going to take over the world. No. And I was watching, but the problem I always find is there's a lot of sensationalism around it. So I was watching Mission Impossible the other day. Have you seen the latest one?
No, I haven't.
So in the latest one, basically AI takes over the world. And I often joke, I say, I don't know what's going to happen because I've not seen the sequel, right? But the reality is, I don't think it is going to take over the world. It's not going to become sentient.
You don't think it ever will become sentient?
I think it requires a lot of computing power, and so to get to that, we're a long way away from that.
But we're moving so fast, aren't we? I mean, even in my lifetime, we've moved so fast. The human brain is sentient. And it's very compact.
Well, in a year and a half, so a year and a half ago, ChatGPT, no one knew what that was, right? So you're right, it has been fast. But these large language models, as they're called, they can be really a tool for good as well. So one statistic I'm going to bore you with this, but it's a software called Brainomics. So stroke centres across the UK and NHS trusts, 37 NHS trusts are using this, and they are using AI to look at scans. And so
it picks things up, doesn't it?
It picks things up. So 3 times more people who previously would not have been able to return to normal functionality are now able to do that after having had a really severe stroke. And you are starting to see how AI is transforming the way we work and the way we live. The challenges, of course, with that are you've got to make sure people are skilled up. So we've just launched these skills workshops, 16 weeks, completely free, job interview at the end. So that's been really good.
What are the workshops in?
They're in data science, web development, software development, cloud computing, loads of really, really good stuff. And they're basically boot camps that they're really flexible.
I think I've seen them.
That's good. That's good. That's reassuring. So, because my brother did one about a year ago, and I thought, what a great idea. In fact, I met someone when we were promoting this. I was at Google's headquarters, and we were promoting this, and this young lady had been in temporary work for about 20 years, and then but had a desire to do this, and now is doing cybersecurity in a global firm, and good high above average salaries. It's a really good.
It is a good industry to be in, isn't it? And it's quite accessible, isn't it? Because you don't need loads of kit to start with, and you can learn from home, can't you? A lot of it can be done.
Totally. So AI's got there's a huge opportunity. What we've done as the UK, so the Prime Minister did something called the Bletchley Summit, which was you might remember, it was a big hoo-ha around AI safety back in October last year. That was the first time in the world anyone had done that. So we had 28 countries plus the EU come and sign something called the Bletchley Declaration.
So is this about trying to manage
the
where
risks?
It goes? Because one of the fears is with AI is that if you stop people doing something, the chances are someone's already doing it. If you think, well, we're never going to let them do that, that means either someone's doing it, or it can be done soon. So someone will do it in a different country, or in a secret bunker.
So AI doesn't recognise borders, right? So the first thing was getting all these countries around the table and to talk about this. And since then I've been to the G7 and I've talked to our counterparts, and we are generally recognised across the world of having led the charge on this, and I'm really proud of this. So on AI, what we're doing is when the companies who come up with these models, they basically share them with our safety institute. We test it and try and identify where there might be risks and stuff.
But how do you police something like? Because like I said, there's no borders or boundaries. How can you police AI if someone's developing it to do things that perhaps we wouldn't want it to do?
Well, three ways. So
it's the ethics of it as well.
Yeah. The ethics is really interesting on this. So we might have to do a separate podcast on this. But
yes. Well, let's do that. Let's book it. Yeah, we'll do that another time.
I'll do one. Wait till I get on semiconductors. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know
the microchips and all that. So AI basically, first of all, tech companies have to respect the voluntary relationship. They have to do that, right? If that doesn't happen, we've said we will legislate basically.
Right.
The second thing is we haven't legislated. What we've said is the regulators in different sectors. So in finance, the Financial Conduct Authority, or the Competition Markets Authority, or in data, the Information Commissioner, they've got responsibilities in their sectors to see AI being used properly, basically. And we're giving them resources. So we've just given them £10 million to increase their capacity. And the third thing is our international relationship. So my boss, the Secretary of State, has just signed a deal with the US to share best practice with their safety institute. I'm very keen for, if every country wants to do a safety institute, I say great, right?
Yeah.
And let's then share that knowledge and that experience, because we may test for something.
That's the thing I think is people being willing to share, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not convinced that about self-regulation. If you look at some of the social media, the way that's I mean, I know there's been some advancements on that.
Yeah, which by the way I'm also responsible for.
So I guess you would be. This
is a hot potato. But we've just had the Online Safety Act come through, and I mean, I'm going to give you.
Do you think? I mean, obviously you're going to say yes, but do you think it's going to work, or do you think that?
No, I do. I do, because the Ofcom are responsible, and the way we've done it is we've said the social media companies have to uphold their terms and conditions. So we're like in what we call the implementation phase right now, and so Ofcom are doing all their consultations. My big challenge, by the way, to the social media companies is you don't have to wait for Ofcom to tell you what to do.
Yeah,
they should just get on with it, right? And we know what the risks are.
And does Ofcom have teeth to deal
they can
with?
fine, so there's criminal liabilities, there's fine. I think there's 10% of global turnover is one of the things they can do.
They send them to prison.
I think there's criminal liability for directors, actually, so there should be.
That's the kind of thing you want, isn't it? Because otherwise they just think, I'll fine my company, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because
although 10% of global turnover is a lot of money,
yeah.
That's a lot. So,
but if you're already a multimillionaire, who cares?
Yeah, but then all that money it starts to bite.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're actually a really good place to do tech. So we're the third most valuable tech economy in the world. This is as of last year, worth $1 trillion. And we've created more jobs now, 20% more than pre-COVID levels.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I speak to tech companies, and you look across into Europe, they've got antitrust stuff going on, anti-competition stuff going on. You look at America, and actually we've got a pretty good space here. And the West Midlands is doing really well as well. So I basically, coming back to where we are now, we want to make sure that our people, young and old, any age, any stage, get those skills and can get involved and get.
I think that's really what will show people getting involved in it is creating work. In a sense, the market will balance it out, because all these things about people trying to take over the world and stuff. I know that some people seek power, but businesses are driven by making money, and they're not going to do stuff. If it doesn't make money, they're not going to do it. Yeah. So I think that actually is a bit of a safety valve.
Yeah. I wish they did. I wish they did. I'm pro business, etc. But I also believe business has a role to play in society.
Yes, I think done well.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Birmingham, you see it with Cadbury. Historically, they showed how business actually enhances and benefits a city, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah. So the ministerial stuff is really interesting.
Yeah.
Semiconductors. I mean, microchips are in everything we do, and it's the one thing I've really learned a lot about. And we've got some real strength in that as well. So,
were you into this before, or did you have to do a lot of homework?
I've had to do a lot of homework as well, because no matter how much you know, you need to learn more.
Yeah, and it changes. I guess it's really.
It changes, yeah. But we're trying to support it. The EU and America will write big checks, and China will write big checks. We try and do it differently. We try and get the private sector involved.
Yeah.
I think that's working. I think that's a good way to do it, because obviously every time we spend government spends money, it's taxpayers' money. It's not our money. We're spending someone else's money. So. The more you can get the private sector to do stuff. And Andy Street says this actually. He was helped bring in so much investment. I think the Legal and General investing $4 billion in Birmingham. You might have to check the figures because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he will say that if you spend $1 billion from government, in one deal you've got $4 billion from a private company.
Yeah.
And so yes, they make profits, but we need to get them reinvesting in our communities. Well,
there's a whole conversation there about private investment in their water companies and things. But perhaps that's one for the hustings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, can't wait. Can't wait. I mean, again, the water companies have a responsibility. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot more knowledge and understanding of what's going on. We have a Victorian system, for example, around that stuff, and it's really important that those water companies invest and do that. And if they're not doing it, they need to be answerable to why not. And so that's really important, because I think most people just assumed that or we just didn't have the knowledge of before I was a politician. I hadn't really looked at sewage outflows.
Yeah, you try not to think about it.
Yeah, you try to think about it. So, but now obviously I'm very au fait with it, and actually we are we've increased fines. We've gone off the big thing we've done, actually. The reason you get more information is in the Environment Act, we made sure there was much more data around the outflows.
Yes,
and
I think knowing what's going on is important, isn't it? So, yeah. Well, time's getting on. I said it would only be 10 minutes, and we've been a lot longer.
Oh, have we? Okay.
Just before we wrap it up, one of the things we often ask people when they come on, I say often, we haven't done that many podcasts, is where faith fits in, because I'm a big fan of the secular state. I've been a good Baptist, but I'm always intrigued and fascinated by how people's faith or spirituality influences them. Are you happy to speak a bit?
No, totally. Neil, I'm Muslim, so obviously Abrahamic religion, etc. Whatever. I don't know if I ever told you, I used to be head choir boy when I was at school, so I could do. If I sang Silent Night when I was 11, I would bring a tear to your eyes. And then, do
you want to do it now?
No. Well,
you could sing.
I'd probably make you cry for different reasons. My voice broke, and then that was my singing career is over. But why my best friend, he's Anglican. We often sit and talk about faith and things, and it's just fascinating about how much we have in common.
Yes.
And we've been best mates since we were 11 years old. And we are faith for us. By the way, he's a stem cell research scientist, so he has different ethical issues he has to think about. Yes. But for me in politics, I try and whether it's I'm in the Westminster bubble, I try and just go back to kind of my basic principles and of doing good. And if you are trying to do good, I find, especially in politics, generally you can't go far wrong. And for me, the test is you have to be able to sleep at night. If I meet my maker, what am I going to say? And what I've done, and that is probably my driver. And it's great to see what religious institutions are doing around. The churches here are doing an amazing job. Really,
I'm a big fan of faith communities, because I think one of the things they do is they get involved, generally speaking, in their communities. And there are those forces and those media drives that will try and divide people and between faiths, but actually most people of reason and of faith would say, at the end of the day, my faith is a faith. I think all the world faiths are faiths of peace, and they're about actually making the world a better place. That's partly why you follow them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So even if you may disagree on some of it, and you may think, well, that's a fundamental disagreement, it isn't generally on the value of human beings, on these sort of ethical questions.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's so much in common between the faiths. And it's great to see. It's great to see people of faith, whatever faith, I think, involved in every aspect of society. Because the temptations, you look at politics, and I don't have anything to do with that. Or you look at business.
Yeah.
But what that you want people involved.
Yeah, and actually, I worry at the moment, and there is a bit of apathy and disenfranchisement with politics, and for various reasons, which I'm sure we'll get drawn out of the hustings at some point.
Yeah, do the hustings.
But there is that, right? And I would argue actually there's been a slow kind of it's been going on for a while where you feel it, and actually ultimately, what you need in politics is what faith also gives you, which is hope. And I think that's a core issue, or a core message that you have to stick to. And I have to always remind myself, if I'm talking about semiconductors, how do I give hope to people around, around that? But you've got to, but also around the local issues here. I want to be delivering for people.
Yeah.
And I was in business before. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce that covered this area. I had a very good professional career, but I left all of that because I thought I had a calling here to, or I felt the need to kind of serve people, and that's why I've done this job. And it's down to my constituents to decide whether the next election whether they want me back or not. But I've always thought whenever this journey ends, you have to be incredibly proud of what you've done.
Yes.
And work hard for that. So for me, and all of that is it runs parallel to my faith because. Again, for me, it's about being in service, really, and giving that, giving back. So.
And I think it is about serving God, isn't it? And that, I think, hope. I mean, we're big on the faith, hope, love, verse from our scriptures, and I love that the fact that those three have been clustered together, and it sounds a bit, well, people, you get the impression it's sentimental, but love actually, I think, is the most powerful thing we've got, and. That drives what we do, and sometimes think, well,
we need more love in society. And when I say that, it's if you go online or pick up paper, sometimes it's all doom and gloom actually. But and yet you come in here and Three Trees, and you sit down and have a cup of tea with people and talk to them. They will there is so much good happening in the world, and we've got to try and kind of battle back those forces that try and cause division, really.
And here, like a lot of places, not across the borough, across the country, really, there are places of hope. And I think when people think it doesn't have to be like this, or however dark it may have got, I can get through it. That's for me. That's what the message is about. And I don't care whether people come to church or not. I don't care. But I do care about people's sense of hope and value, and are they loved, and are they able to love? If those bits come right, everything else follows on. And
so I genuinely think this is the greatest country in the world, right? And the reason I do is because I think when we get what we do right and we have that message of hope, we can be a beacon for the world. I'll get all emotional now, but I think but the truth is, I whether it was COVID and getting vaccines and the sense of community that we had and all that stuff. A lot of people have I think have forgotten that now, but because it does seem like a lifetime away, right? But actually, there was lots of great stuff happening.
It brought out the best.
It
brought out some dodgy stuff, but overall. It brought out the best of us. It really brought
out the best of us, across society, and
maybe what it did is it brought out the truth, so we saw everyone for what they truly are.
Well, that's a deeper. I'm
a big fan of that.
But the truth is, I mean, I remember, when the vaccine rollout was happening and the Lions. Were doing their work in Balsall Common, for example, and they were, helping support people. We were talking about, I helped with the Prime Minister's, when he was Chancellor, he was doing the furlough scheme, and he was doing that, and supporting getting the furlough scheme out and running, so protecting jobs. That was hugely important.
Yes, that made a massive difference.
But there was also kind of lots of community effort, people checking in on each other, that sense of family. My big worry was about mental health. I hadn't seen my family for whatever the length of the first lockdown was, and I wasn't able to until restrictions were lifted, etc. And so there was a lot of good people doing great things, and
we saw it here.
People doing great things.
Yeah, we saw it here firsthand. Yeah. It was a joy, in a weird way.
And I was really proud of everyone was doing what they did. So.
Well. Thank you ever so much for your time. Is there anything you want to add, or?
Well, no. Look, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for having me. Well, thank you for your kind words, and thanks for letting me do my surgeries here.
No, it's good.
And anyone who wants to get in touch, my door's open. Please do it.
I'll try and put your email,
that'd be great.
or your contact.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that.
Here, But hopefully we'll see you later in the year when
I look forward to
when the hustings, when it's all announced, we'll organise an event.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
And it'd be good to have a wider ranging conversation about the state of the world.
Yeah, we should. I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Thanks. See you again.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. See you soon.